Hi, folks, and welcome to the fourth edition of the Ask Me Anything event around Windows 365, Windows in the Cloud. So here you have the chance to ask questions live to the people who are building the product, the product manager group of Microsoft that builds Windows 365. So I'm your host, Christian Brinkhoff, one of the feature PMs as well on the Windows 365 engineering team. And I'm joined by the performance and monitoring team led by Nandita. Before I start introducing our guests, feel free to put all your questions live in the chat right here. And we are here to answer them live. So please don't forget about that. And don't be like make sure that they are difficult. I say it like that. I want to rotate them around and give them a little bit of a hard time as well. So let's introduce our guest here real quick. So Navneet, can you introduce yourself?
Hey everyone, I'm Navneet. I'm a PM on the Windows 365 team, and I work on some of our monitoring and alerting features.
Thanks. And Abraham, can you introduce yourself?
Hi folks, my name is Abraham Pineda. I'm also PM in the Windows 365 team, and I work on some features related to troubleshooting, resizing, and device management.
Thanks. And last but not least, Nandita, can you introduce yourself as well?
Thank you, Christian. I'm Nandita Sharma. I'm on the PM team for Windows 365. So everything that makes IT admins' life easier, our team does that.
Yeah, it's a very important aspect of a product, right? Performance, monitoring. How do you keep the lights on and make sure that the user experience is consistent and good enough? So I have the right team here to answer those questions. But before we jump into some questions, Nandita, perhaps can you share a little bit around like what the vision of the product is around those aspects, and as well what the exact responsibilities are as part of the Windows 365 product?
Yeah, Christian. So when you look at the value proposition of Windows 365, it's to provide that simple, secure, powerful Windows experience. And IT admins have a really crucial role to provide that experience. And based on customer feedback from IT admins, we've heard that they want more monitoring capabilities, understand the performance of the users, understand connection issues. They should be able to do all of this at scale and provide some automation so that it reduces the IT burden as well. So we've taken all that feedback into our feature development plans and the current capabilities that we have. So basically, this team's vision is to empower IT admins to make their life simpler so that they can provide a really great performance and user experience in their organization.
Yeah, that's great. And I came from like Azure Virtual Desktop previously, Windows Virtual Desktop, and yourself too. So you probably put in some learnings from like that journey in Microsoft as well into this product, right? Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, so I think the again going back to the value prop of like how simple, how out of the box experience Windows 365 is. You don't have to go into log analytics, you don't have to go into Azure or learn something new. We provide that out of box experience on the MIM portal itself. And the investments that we are making, because we hear IT admins say we want real time data, we don't want data that is a month old. So all those feedback have been incorporated, and it's an out of box experience. You don't have to sign up into log analytics or pay for the log analytics instance. All this value is encapsulated with the Windows 365 experience, and that makes this unique. Also a great TCO story, because as a customer you don't need to buy a third party monitoring system or need to have different agents flow into your system. It's all within Microsoft, and we adhere to the privacy policies, so your data is secure, your user data is secure, and it's easy to use.
Yeah, that's great, and all part of that fixed price license, as you said. So it's really predictable as well, instead of having a pay-as-you-go monitoring solution that over time grows and grows, and then you get more costs, and not always what is appreciated. But thanks for that context. Can you share a little bit about like the intelligence insights and monitoring capabilities that your team is building, and maybe rotate that against your team as well?
Yes, so I'm going to give the baton to Navneet. He's been working on a lot of the monitoring capabilities, the current and futuristically the things that we're investing in. So over to you, Navneet.
Yeah, thanks, Nandita, for that intro on the team, and Christian for having us here today. So, your question on intelligent insights and what are we doing in that space? So, let me take it two steps. So, first, I'll tell you what we have today. Today, we have the resource performance report. And what this report does is it tells you what your CPU and RAM utilization is for devices across your organization. And it also tells you more about the spikes you're having. What is the end user experience like? We have some intelligent insights on the back end on our side where we go and look at users utilization. We take into account their usage, we take into account the kind of applications they're running on it, and then we identify spikes based on thresholds. So we do a lot of work trying to tell you, hey, is this the best user experience for your end user, and then recommend the right size for you. So today, we stop at the part of telling you how is the performance like, what is the end user experience like, and we recommend if you should resize the device. But in the future, we have aspirations to go and say, hey, can we take it one step further and tell you, um, based on this user's utilization, what would the right size for them be? Based on what we've seen with organizations of similar size, what do we recommend? Or based on applications, what would provide the best experience? So those are like one aspect of the things we're working on. We also have like a couple of other reports that go into remoting connection. We're looking into things around usage and utilization. And based on that, we want to kind of get to a model of telling you um, insights before they happen. So get more into the predictive than the proactive, where we let you know. So that's kind of where we're moving towards as a team on the reporting side.
Yeah, that's great to hear. And one thing I know is as well, you, Abraham, touch base on like resize and those kind of features. Like we have the capabilities to monitor as well as to take actions to solve it, right, Abraham? Like doing an action based on what we detect in the monitoring solution is something you own. Can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so I think Nafni touched briefly on one of the reports that customers can leverage today, which is the resource performance report. So we've made long strides to make sure that the reporting tools are integrated across MIM, but that they also fit into device management actions that can help admins, basically resize their VMs on the fly. So, for example, if you were using the resource perf report and then you see that the resource performance of that device is not up to par, then it's going to provide you with an insight that's going to tell you, hey, consider increasing the resource performance or consider resizing this user. I think that one thing that we need to consider here is like, why would you resize a device as opposed to provisioning a new device? I think that if you are familiar with the Windows 365 platform, you'll know that provisioning is a great action to take the first time when you're first creating devices. But when you first sign up for the Windows 365, it's great to provision devices for the first time. But this is not really a scalable solution because it takes a very long time to provision devices. And the resize tool allows you the flexibility to increase CPU, increase RAM, increase storage of those VMs without having to provision devices. So resizing allows you that flexibility. It takes a lot shorter than provisioning devices. So it'll take you about 20 to 50 minutes as opposed to the 45 minutes that's going to take you to provision devices for the very first time. So all of that's going to be integrated in those reports, like the resource performance report that Nafni just touched on. And we want to make sure that this sort of features provide you with the flexibility, provide you with the elasticity, and also provide you with the scalability to have that sort of flexibility on the fly. So
yeah, that's that's really awesome, and I see a vision here as a team as well, that your cloud PC performance is always as it should be, as part of what your workload is, right? So perhaps in the upcoming future we will improve the kind of aspect of having just consistent performance as well, based on proactive remediations that are happening in endpoint analytics. We can of course not share everything what we talk about inside the group, but the vision is really clear around that, what Nandita just already explained. One thing I really would like to point out again is put your questions in the chat. We see a lot of questions coming in already, so thank you for that. But more is always better, so I can keep everybody busy here too. And one question that just came in is around, like, what are the improvements of deploying Windows 11 and new features and such as part of the service. I think Navneet, you are owning as well Windows updates, or have been owning part as well. Can you share a little bit about what we are doing with Windows 11 in Windows 365 there, and as part of upgrading from 10 to 11 and such?
Yeah. So one of the things we brought with Windows 11 coming out was a work from anywhere report with the Windows section, which really helps you understand, hey, I'm looking at all the devices I have. How many of them are eligible to upgrade to Windows 11? So it gives you kind of a breakdown of, are you meeting the hardware requirements? What's kind of stopping your users from going to Windows 11, or are they ready to take an update? And the unique part over here is with Windows 365 Cloud PCs, all your devices by default are ready for Windows 11. So even if you're on a Windows 10 VM, you can just apply the Windows 11 update and get your users there when you're ready. Um, for instance, there are very few users who'll show up on Windows 365 as not ready for Windows 11. But even if you look at those users, it's all about going and reprovisioning them so that they get to a hardware that's ready for Windows 11. And these will be some of our earliest adopters close to GA. But everyone else should be ready for Windows 11 right away. So to answer your question, I think we're not looking at Windows 11 and Windows 10 as two different operating systems when you're deploying anything. It's all the same, but we provide you tools to understand what part of your devices are ready for Windows 11 and how to get them onto the latest and greatest OS.
Yeah, and to kind of like add on, I think this is a great hybrid story as well, right? I mean, we all know that there are supply chain issues, and maybe you want that secure Windows 11 experience, and you want it now, or you have an intern join the team and you want that Windows 11 experience for that intern. Where do you get the physical device from, and how quickly can you get it? So this is one option that companies or customers can consider, that you want that experience and it's available to you right now, and you can go and see in your environment, if the devices are ready or not. If they're not, then cloud PC is definitely an opportunity and an option for the customers.
Yeah, another question that just comes in, like, what if I'm a customer and I'm not using Windows 365 yet? Like, what are the options there? Like, should I contact Microsoft, or can I just go to a page online and use a trial, or what are the best routes there? And how can I use like the components you just presented as well? Who wants to share like what we have there for customers that are seeking to try Windows 365?
Yeah, I can attempt to take that one. So there are a couple of options available for customers to go experience Windows 365. It's available in various channels. So you can go to WebDirect, you can get a trial, or you can purchase a license. And you can purchase a Windows 365 enterprise license, because all the analytic capabilities are available only with enterprise and not with business as of now. The business is a smaller footprint. So you can go to WebDirect. That's the easiest and the fastest one. There are other options as well. If you're working with a partner, you can go through the CSP channel, get a Windows 365 enterprise license from there as well. Or if you are a managed customer for Microsoft, you can go and talk to your account manager and ask them about a trial license. And if you have an enterprise agreement, they'll be able to help you get that Windows 365 license for a trial or even a purchase to run your POCs. In fact, we have a lot of enterprise customers who are doing initial POCs and trying and testing and doing all those resize and the great capabilities that are coming. So hope that answers the question, Christian.
Yeah, so WebDirect is admin.microsoft.com, right? Just for the audience here.
Yeah.
Here, so that's great. Lots of opportunities to just kick the tires, try it out, see if it looks and works as expected, and yeah, you will be amazed about the level of proactive automation and solving that has been put in by this group and the full product management team and the devs across the globe as well, to just solve challenges that we have been facing for like 2 decades with traditional VDI solutions and such. And therefore we don't want to or let's say compare us with VDI, because we are a new category, cloud PC, and that really sits in the automation, just like you use a physical PC, now a cloud PC kind of an experience. So yeah, really looking forward to see new customers landing and get your feedback as well on what your first findings are and what we should do better in terms of improving the product as well. So let me jump and pile on here real quick. So, like, a question for the group here: what are we doing to enhance the IT experience, the IT admin experience, for predictive issue detection and proactive remediation and troubleshooting? Are there any new things on the roadmap to make the life of an IT admin even more easier, as you just explained as well?
Yeah, Navneet, Abe, both of you, I think, can jump in. I think it's a really nice connected experience that we are investing in. And, when I talk about our investments for monitoring capabilities in Windows 365, they're pretty much like 4 pillars where we're investing in. One is, just providing that basic monitoring and analytics, utilization insights. Second is more predictive detection of anomalies. Third pillar where we're investing is, flexibility, automation, and scale, which is where we are investing in a lot of the AI capabilities. And fourth is just understanding IT sentiment, because we've built all these features, we built all these experiences. Now we need to hear from the IT admins on what works for them. Do they really like this? Did the resize work as expected? Or did the provisioning work as expected? So we're going to invest in getting that feedback on the Microsoft Endpoint Manager portal to understand from IT admins if the experience or the feature meets expectations, and also to understand or get kudos on things that have went well. So sorry, Abe, back to monitoring.
Yeah, no, this is good. That was a great intro, Nandita. Thanks. I also want to, like, before I jump into what we're building and what we have in this space, I want to kind of give the audience an understanding of how we think through this and how do we come up with features to build, apart from getting customer feedback. So the way we're thinking about all the features we're building is about understanding the admin journey entirely. So when we think about, like, hey, how does a IT admin start with Windows 365? It begins with them coming, purchasing a license, and then getting around the provisioning journey, setting up that Azure network connection or using one of our network connections, and then going around provisioning that device for users. So that's the first part, setup stage. And then you have users connecting to these devices, having their end user experiences, and the admin being curious about, hey, how is the user connecting to the device? Are they having a good experience? What does resource utilization look like on this device? How does utilization all up look like? Are there any issues, right? So that's kind of the entire journey wrapped up. And we've been thinking about what features can we bring in each stage of this journey to help the admin and the end user by extension. So the first feature, which we kind of gave a peek in, was alerting for endpoint admins for Windows 365. We spoke about this in Ignite last year, and we're bringing it out soon. And in this, initially, we're focusing on the first segment, which is helping the IT admin set up a device. So everything around image uploads. If something fails over there, can you set thresholds? Can you build rules to monitor the state of that object and be notified on it outside of MEM as well as within MEM. So can you get an email? Can you be notified within MEM? So if it's critical enough, you understand, you can come and fix it. And we don't stop with just providing you a notification that says that, hey, something is broken, but we also lead you towards actionable steps you can take to fix that. So that's our first stab at like going and looking at issues, finding them out, and telling you how to work around them. The next thing we're bringing is, we've heard from admins a lot about their use cases where they want to understand issues as soon as they happen or before their users contact them even. And most of the times, the basic issues they come across is end user cannot connect to their device, or end user is having a less than ideal experience. Maybe it's lagging, or they're not having the greatest experience. And the other set of issues that we keep hearing from our customers is, I'm not quite sure after I've given the user a device, is it being utilized enough? How do I kind of think about whether to resize the user? Like, I need enough data points to make such decisions. So that's been an issue. And we've heard from customers that they want to look at metrics in context of each other. They don't want to scroll across 5-6 reports and look at different metrics and then say, oh, how do I make this decision? So that's been another thing. And the last thing they tell us, which Nandita referenced a couple of times, is real time, right? Like aggregated metrics are good to look at over a period of time and do reporting. But if I want to solve the problem right away, if I want to help my end users and be really great at my job, I need access to real time metrics, which tells me what is the experience like right now, or what is the experience like a few hours ago, not what was it few days ago. So we're trying to provide that as well across various categories. So the piece of work we're doing over here is building a dashboard that helps you understand all these things, which helps you not only get aggregate metrics, but also help with troubleshooting through real-time metrics. And I'll kind of hand over to Abe, who will tell us a lot more about what we do in the connectivity space.
Yeah, thank you, Navneet. So in terms of connectivity, I think that it's pretty safe to say that Windows 365, being a SaaS service, relies on having a pretty stable connection so that you can connect to your cloud PC. And before you can even start using your cloud PCs in Windows 365, one thing what we have is what we used to call the on-prem network checks. We call those Azure network checks since, but basically those are checks that allow you to know if your environment and your tenant are set up for success so that you can start provisioning your cloud PCs. So that is the first step. But then what happens after you provision those cloud PCs and you want to have more visibility as to, can my users actually connect to cloud PCs? So we are going to be integrating a set of connectivity health checks, as we're calling them, in this unified dashboard experience that Navneet had just mentioned. So this is going to provide a level of visibility that admins currently don't have, but will have, and they will be able to understand whether the users can connect to your cloud PC. So that's an answer that we really want to provide our admins today. Can my user connect to my cloud PC? Because right now, those are all provisioned, but are they actually in a connectable state? This cloud PC health checks are going to provide you with a set of specific checks that will tell you whether that user can connect or not connect to a cloud PC. So just to kind of touch on some of those checks will be like, is my cloud PC domain joined? Is the domain trusting that cloud PC? Are the URLs and endpoints accessible for that cloud PC? Are the Azure components within that cloud PC live and ready to go? And more importantly, even though we're providing that live check for that cloud PC and telling you if your user can currently connect to that cloud PC, we also understand that trends and history are an important tool that admins can use to see if things were not working in the past. Because right now, you'll be able to know are things working now, but were they working a week before when my users were reaching out to me or opening support tickets because they couldn't connect to your cloud PC? So we'll also be able to provide connectivity check, historical data, and connectivity errors as well. Say that your ISV, your internet service provider, turned off the Wi-Fi for some reason. We want to be able to tell you when that happened, why that happened, and why your user wasn't able to connect to your cloud PC. So we'll provide you trends and historical data so that you can know what is the real-time scenario that your users are going through. But also, let's look back to see if there were problems in the past that your user experienced, and basically they were not able to connect to their cloud PC. Why did that happen? So sort of making our monitoring, our connectivity story more robust, and also empowering the admin to troubleshoot those issues so that they don't have to contact Microsoft support. So let's talk about a scenario where your cloud PC is down. We tell you through the unified dashboard that it's currently not working. Is there anything that you can do as an admin to troubleshoot that issue so that you don't have to open Microsoft support and spend time with them? We want to get you back up and running as soon as we can. So we will also be providing a set of troubleshooting tools. One-click troubleshooting tools. Well, if your cloud PC is down, you can just as easily click on that troubleshoot button, and we'll run a set of troubleshooting steps in the backend to get your cloud PC up and running as soon as we can.
Yeah, so something I'll add here is that this was the number one ask from our customers, providing insights on connection failures, and again, a path to be successful again. So we're really happy, to get the feedback, and also happy that we've been able to invest in this area. And this capability is going to be coming pretty soon to our customers.
Yeah, that's great to hear, and I'm not sure if somebody else wants to add something on that, but I'm curious. Would it be possible as well, like to monitor outages in your VPN connection and such in this feature? Can you share a little bit more about that? Because a lot of customers want to configure kind of a hybrid environment to their backend services to use applications inside their cloud PC. So if something happens there, they probably want to know. Is that possible as well?
So currently, our investment is on connection health. There's a plethora of things that you can do on connections. I think this is probably going to solve majority of the problems, and there are some ancillary things that we can, we'll keep building on this connection health tool. So there are, lots of other use cases that will be covered. But yes, that's the plan.
Yeah, that's great. And what about if I'm an ISV or a partner and I'm maintaining multiple cloud PC environments for multiple customers as an MSP? Can I connect as well, like metrics and such into my own like database and such, or is it something on the roadmap? Can you share a little bit about that?
I can take that one. So all our reports come with Graph API support. Everything we're building, the alerting we talked about, unified dashboards, everything comes with Graph API support. So the way we think about this is we know we can build like a lot of features, but customers will want to do way more, and we always want to enable them. So we've been building Graph API support for everything. You can do a lot of custom dashboarding. You can do a lot of custom reporting based on all the metrics we provide you. So as an ISV or as a customer with like more specific needs, you can always use our Graph APIs for our features.
Yeah, that's great. And one of the questions that just came in as well is regarding Microsoft Teams. Like I remember we worked on that together to bake Teams inside the gallery images we provide. So the question here is, how do we keep Teams up to date as part of Windows 365? Which version and how does the process work? Does Endpoint Analytics provide any help there? So perhaps Navneet, I think that's a good one for you as well. So
yeah, I can take that. So first I'll kind of address the gallery images, right? So with gallery images, we always keep your Teams installer up to date. So at any point of time, if you pick up a gallery image and provision a user a cloud PC from that, you're getting the latest version of Teams. However, the WebRTC installer does not update itself automatically. So to get around this, Endpoint Analytics has this feature called proactive remediations. What you can do here is you can have a detection script where you go and check the version of Teams running on the device. And then you have like a remediation script, which will then go make sure the user is not there, they're not using Teams, and then go update them. So we actually have someone on our team, Donna, who wrote a script for this to make it easier for you. So all you need to do is go get this PowerShell script, load it onto proactive remediations in endpoint analytics, and then it's going to periodically look at your devices, make sure they're on the latest version of Teams. If not, update them.
And that's one area where we'll probably, require more feedback and inputs on what works versus not. We keep hearing this question keeps coming back. So I'm super curious to understand, have the admins tried this? If they have, what is the success rate? And if they've not, how do we make sure, or how do we make this more available to them that they take this action? Because if this question keeps coming back, I kind of have a feeling that they're not going to the scripts and doing the proactive remediation. So would love to understand that flow.
So indeed, how can people provide feedback the easiest way?
Yeah, so there is the Windows 365 feedback link. Please use that, provide feedback to us, and we constantly check that link to see, what customers want, what admin capabilities can be enhanced. And we take it pretty seriously, because when we go into our investment plans and feature development, we take the feedback and we incorporate the feedback into our planning cycles. So if there's anything that you think can be improved or anything that's missing, I would highly encourage you to use the Windows 365 feedback link.
Yeah, that's great. And the questions are coming in, and that's great. Audience is pretty active in the chat, so keep doing that. We like it. One of the questions here is, can you talk about the plans for monitoring availability of Windows 365 in general? Like if there's a maintenance outage or something like that, which not happens that often, of course, but if something happens, what are the options there for customers to check what's going on which region perhaps and such?
Yeah, I can take a stab at that. So there are two ways of getting this information, right? If you're having a service-wide outage, like all the monitoring we were talking about so far is specific to your tenant. Like your tenant, your devices have an issue. We help you find out the issue, root cause it, get to the root of it. But this is a different question. This is like, hey, what if Windows 365 is down? How do I get notified about that? So there are two places you can go for this. One is admin.microsoft.com, your Microsoft Admin Center. And there are a list of services like Windows, Azure, Office, Teams, and you will see Windows 365 over there. So you can choose to subscribe to Windows 365 over there. And it even has an opportunity for you to provide an email ID where you can get notifications. So if there are any outages, if there are any issues, we will communicate through that to you. So that's one place. And we also make this available in Microsoft Endpoint Manager. So say that, hey, I don't want to go to Mac. I just want to be at a single place. I want to manage everything through Microsoft Endpoint Manager. We pull in that information from Microsoft Admin Center into Microsoft Endpoint Manager. So if you go into tenant administration, you'll be able to see service health dashboard, which kind of brings all the information from Mac into your MEM console, where you can look at issues that are affecting the service and be notified on it.
Yeah, thanks. That's great. Just like other services, Microsoft 365 services as well, right? You can see them there.
Exactly.
So one of the other questions here, let me pile on here, is regarding the upgrade feature. There's a question: when upgrading Windows 365 SKUs, we need to assign licenses through groups. Is that something that is on the roadmap, or what are the improvements there that we're doing on the Resize feature? Abram, can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, so this is definitely a big customer request for us these days, and definitely something that we're working towards to. Our service, when it comes to license management, SKU assignment, and provision of cloud PCs, the provision of the cloud PC itself is something that's tightly linked to our licensing. And so is our Resize operation. The reason for that is because we want to make this process as frictionless as possible. So whenever an admin wants to resize a user's cloud PC, not only are we going to resize that machine on the fly, but we're also going to handle the license management on behalf of the admin. So a license reassignment takes place. You resize a user from Cloud PCA to Cloud PCB. The license assignment is going to move from license A to license B. Obviously, I think that you can already assume what's going to happen with group-based licensing, which is something that our customers use a lot. Our enterprise customers work at pretty big scales these days, and direct assignment of license is not something that's scalable for them. So they rely on AD groups to do that license management. Obviously, this is sort of a challenge for the resize functionality, because now you are having to do a license reassignment that's reliant on AD group-based licensing. So we are designing some solutions to work around this scalability issue. These are solutions that we're going to start putting in front of customer faces pretty soon to get their feedback from them, because we realize that when it comes to license management, it's a process that it can get pretty granular and it can vary a lot from customer to customer. So we want to make sure that whatever design we come up with, we definitely incorporate as much feedback as we can. So you can rest assured when I tell you that resizing for group-based licenses is something that's in the roadmap for sure. Happy to unveil more surprises in the future, but at this point in time, it's something that we're heads down working on.
Yeah, and I'd like to add here that Abe is our resize champ now. And I think, again, this is a big differentiator when we talk about Windows 365 service, because it just allows that flexibility, right? Like you can add compute anytime you want. And there are lots of investments, optimizations we are doing for resize. So one is, supporting group-based licensing is one. Second is, just the whole bulk resize, because when you talk about IT admins that are managing enterprise licenses, you don't want to take, resize one at a time. You should have that automation and scale in terms of doing the bulk resize. So that's another investment area for us. And then we've also got a lot of feedback from customers that, I'm kind of like buying 3-4 different configurations, and I'm going to try resizing between those configurations, but I don't know which one should be the right size. And that's where Navneet and Abe are collaborating and working on this, using AI and using the usage and utilization of the compute, or your applications or users' applications. We're going to provide insights on what that right size PC should be when IT admins take that action, and also identify compute resources which are unutilized. IT admins always want to optimize PC and compute resources across their organization. So just wanted to throw that.
Yeah, that's awesome. And not everybody knows that, but Abe is as well our Microsoft DJ in town. So he spins some records in his spare time as well. So that's amazing. He's from all places. He can do everything. So
the composition. He has a composition. We should have just thrown this in there next time.
Abram needs to do the intro for next season, perhaps the background sounds and such.
I'll definitely add a couple of my tracks for the next season, whenever that comes.
I think David Guetta should be worried right now.
I don't know if I'm at that level, but yeah, he should be worried for sure.
So one of the questions just came in is around Windows Auto Patch, like a new feature announced pretty recently, and somebody asked, "Hey, is that becoming like supported with Windows 365 as well?" Who wants to take that one?
Navneet, do you want to take that one, since you and I have been talking about this, and I think there was an announcement from the Azure team on this, so this has been on our radar. So go ahead. Didn't want to.
Yeah. That's fine. I can take it. I believe Windows Auto Patch will be supported with Windows 365. I think the specifics are it gets supported with your E3 licensing, so it's going to be there. And it should be your easy solution to manage your updates and like have that taken care of as well. I remember one of the things that used to come up early on when we started with this service is like, hey, do you take care of patching? And our solution was, if you start with a gallery image, you're patched. And the first one experience is that you don't have to ever take an update, right? Our images are up to date every month. We provide you that goodness from Azure. But now it's even more complete with this Windows AutoPatch story where you don't have to deploy updates, and that's kind of taken care for you. So it's a good value add that we're happy to provide to our customers.
Yeah, it creates opportunities to sort of proactively create rings in your organization, right? And really solve kind of the section of some businesses that are using Windows 365, but they still need to maintain the Windows updates themselves a little bit. And this really jumps into that section of, hey, we can help proactively as well in, hey, this is the ring of updates we want to proactively send to your Windows 365 cloud PCs. So I think in a summary here, stay tuned for more is probably the best wording on what will be supported with Windows 365 and Windows Auto Patch. One of the questions just came in as well, is, hey, what are we doing with resize and downsizing? Like, what if I'm using a high-end license and I want to go down because I just use it for like an application that required more resources and such? Abraham, can you share what we do there?
Yeah, for sure. This is, again, another big customer request that we think will make just the flexibility of the service even broader and better, both from a service perspective and also from a compute perspective, because downsizing is definitely not something that even our competitors do today. But to answer your question, I think that if we sort of take a use case for this one, let's take seasonality, and maybe let's take a company like HR Block. During high tax season, those seasonal workers that HR Block hires might probably require more RAM, more CPU cores, and even more storage. So, during high tax season, they can be as efficient and as productive as they can. But after high tax season, what do you do with those cloud PCs? Surely you can deprovision those if you want to, but if you want to hand those off on the fly to perhaps other company workers, one thing that you could do is downsizing, because you don't need that sort of high performance, high resource cloud PC anymore. So by downsizing the cloud PC, you're able to liberate that high-end license for another user that might need it without having to, again, provision that cloud PC. So downsizing is definitely very, very high in our priority list. It's also part of a Resize roadmap. So as Nandita mentioned, we're working on a lot of optimizations and a lot of new features for Resize. So things to keep in mind is resizing for group-based licenses, resizing in bulk to, again, open up that scalability for enterprise customers, and ultimately downsizing. So also, when I talk about downsizing, I want to be mindful because I know probably a customer question that's going to come is like, can you downsize the storage? That's something that we've considered. It's an idea that we're playing with, but the most immediate need for downsizing is definitely going to come from a RAM and CPU cores perspective. So just something to keep in mind, but it's definitely in the roadmap.
Yeah, follow-up question. Thanks for that, sharing those insights and as well what's coming next. But one of the questions that comes in, how should I qualify a license for my organization? For example, I'm a customer, I'm using a physical PC today, and I want to know what is the representation of my physical PC to my cloud PC. And what can I use for that in terms of documentation, and what can I use in terms of the tools? And do I need to invest in additional tools for that as well? I'm not sure who wants to take. Maybe Abram, you can pile on the licensing part, and somebody else, Navneet, can take the monitoring, testing, performance testing part of it as well.
Can you repeat the question from the licensing side, Christian?
So how should people compare their existing infrastructure, like their local PC, to a license in cloud PC? Like, what is kind of the workload that I can run on a license in a reflection to my physical PC. For example, I have 2 cores, 8 gig of RAM in a physical PC. Should I go directly to a license for Cloud PC with the same ratio of CPU and RAM? Or what do you suggest there to do for customers that are in that journey on, hey, what license do I need to pick?
Yeah, I think that's really going to vary from customer to customer, and it's also going to depend on the workloads that they're running in their Cloud PC. Obviously, I think that you can draw comparisons between your physical device and your VMs, but it's really different. I think that, again, that's going to vary from customer to customer. I think that the reports that Navneet has touched on, like, for example, like the resource performance report, those are really solid places to start to see what sort of performance your Cloud PC needs. Because let's just say that you want to start with the lowest tier Cloud PC, so like a 2-core, 4 RAM Cloud PC. I would recommend customers to start there, and then as they, as they're uploading more workloads, as they're using more resource intensive apps, as sort of like their performance needs grow, a good place that they can look into is that resource performance report, because then they can look for those RAM spikes, they can look for that CPU utilization, and it sort of eliminates the guesswork for the customer. So then they're not having to guess, should I resize my Cloud PC, or does my user need a higher end Cloud PC? They can leverage those reports to see what's the usage in that Cloud PC and what's the performance on that Cloud PC. And if they're starting to see a lot of spikes and they're starting to see a lot of resource utilization, then that's when they sort of can start considering resizing that Cloud PC. So I think that sort of differentiates Cloud PCs from physical devices. It's you really get that one-click solution in those reporting tools so that you can understand the resource consumption of your Cloud PCs.
Yeah, and this is an interesting one because it made me think that when we talk about Windows 365, we pretty much say that this is your Windows from anywhere experience. It's a dedicated PC. It runs on Azure, so it's using that whole security and compute that lives on Azure. And then, so it's like a dedicated PC. But what is on top of that is the additional flexibility. Like today, I'm running AutoCAD, and tomorrow I don't need it. In my physical device, I cannot go buy these new machines, but with the Cloud PC, you're always able to, add that compute on top of what you have. And then you can probably also use so many other endpoints to access your data and your applications. So say I'm using my Office Windows machine, and then I want to go to my phone, I can use an Android device or any other device, and I can access my Cloud PC. Obviously, you need to have all the prerequisite licensing if you're using a non-Windows endpoint, and those are in our docs as well. But I think that's the whole flexibility story with Windows 365. But it's just like your physical machine.
Actually, I want to add to that real quick. So I think Nandita and Abe covered well about what you can do once you get into the funnel, once you've purchased a license. But if you're like, hey, I don't even know if I want to start with 2-core or 4-core, and I want to make that decision slightly more intelligently, I think we have some docs around that. And if you go to our Microsoft.com/Windows 365, we even help you choose the plan going in. So there's a nice Q&A that kind of takes you through a flow, asks you what kind of apps do you run on this, how many apps do you run at a time, things like that help you kind of come up with 1 or 2 SKUs you should consider while buying the first time around.
Yeah, I remember working with you, Navneet, like 6 months before we went GA last year on testing all the SKU licenses, what is the right fit, and make sure that that's in a good sync. And one thing, even from a Microsoft perspective, one thing that is very important in testing is, of course, the metrics, CPU, RAM, how that spikes, but as well the human factor, like how do you experience it yourself? So combining that all pretty much is something you can do with endpoint analytics as part of the service. So just make sure that you do the comparison and testing. And then you can figure it out easily without like involving complex like monitoring or benchmarking tools or things like that. So thanks for sharing that. I think that's a very important aspect for customers that are now looking for Windows 365 and sort of making the comparison with a physical PC or another solution in market, and do the cost analysis as well. Like, what license do I need, and what would be my TCO and my investment I need to.
Yeah. In fact, we were, Abe and I were just talking to a customer just yesterday, and we were curious how they purchase licenses, because they have use cases of, they have some information workers, they have some contractors, they have some dev teams. And it pretty much resonated to what Navneet was saying, going back to our docs, because we provide that guidance. If you're an information worker, maybe you don't need an 8-core SKU. And they pretty much kind of, shared that template with us, which we have on docs as well, on how they made the decision to purchase licenses for the different use cases they have in their environment.
Anything to add to
Christian,
that?
Yeah, I want to add to this a little bit, right? Since we've been talking so much about performance today, I wanted to bring up like the fact why Windows 365 probably runs Windows best on the cloud. So for the last 4 to 5 years, we in the Azure team have been working on making Windows virtual machines boot the best on Azure. And all those optimizations that we've been doing for the last couple of years have all been brought into Windows 365. So when you go start with a gallery image, you can be certain that this image, this virtual machine, this cloud PC runs the best on Azure. Like, we have done all the optimizations we could to make sure that you have the best performance, and we're continuing to invest in that space. So if you're thinking, hey, how can I get my performance better? Try starting with a gallery image, because we've done everything we can to make it boot the best.
Yeah, that's very important, and really that what you just touched base on is a very important aspect. The Windows 365 licenses are optimized and tested for a Windows experience in the cloud, so you don't have to pick up SKUs from the Azure Marketplace or from the Compute Marketplace and then do the benchmarking test all yourself. It's all pre-baked. We use optimized SKUs on the background that we created and populated as part of the license to make sure that you as a customer are proactive and as well productive at the time you provision a cloud PC. So you don't have to invest in that extra level of knowledge to do that work and testing and bring in apart things like that, how it has been working in the past. And one of the questions here is as well is, what is the disk type that we use in terms of the SKU? And we cannot share the insights like what specific metrics and such, but we can share a little bit more on the speed, like if it's HDD or SSD, right? So Navneet, can you share what that is and what we are using there, what the default is?
Hey, I'm sorry, I don't have the best information on what disks we are using.
Oh,
Do you want to take that one?
No worries, I can take that one. So in essence, what we use is, of course, SSD. We use a technology behind the covers that provides the best disk experience for the workloads that we have presented as part of the license. So you can expect that the disk speed is kind of similar as what you have on a physical PC. And we are constantly optimizing as well the disk speed and CPU and RAM SKUs that we use on the background to make sure that that evolves over time with a new version of Windows. So going to Windows 11 made us change the low-end SKU, and now we support 2.4, for example. And we constantly do that as part of that SaaS offering, that software as a service solution, SLA we have with customers. We need to demystify as well as remove the barriers and friction. I heard that word a couple of times here as well, in onboarding and using hybrid remote work technology like Windows 365 is. And one thing I would like to ask as well is, what do we do in terms of the user experience, like connecting to a Windows 365 environment from a client transfers the display over the protocol, right? So What are we doing there in terms of monitoring the latency of the connection, and how do we make that visible in the endpoint analytics portal?
Yeah. So today we have this remoting connection report, and it entirely focuses on, hey, what's your experience even getting to that first click, right? Signing into that device. How long does it take? What are the phase breakouts? Like, how long does it take for you to enter your credentials and then for the VM to come up? So we want to provide like admin visibility into what does it take for the end users to connect. So that's the first part. And the next part, like you mentioned, is getting the bits over to your screen, right? Like, how does that streaming experience look like? Is it laggy? And we kind of do that with this metric round trip time. So essentially telling you how long does it take for those things to appear on your screen. And we also provide some basic categorization telling you if your RTT is high, is it medium, and then you can kind of go look at it across your organization. And for all our endpoint analytic reports, we kind of look at percentiles. So we obviously tell you the median, which gives you a good understanding of how things are. But we also want to point to you the tail, right? So we look at P95 and tell you, hey, what's your worst audience doing like? So you know where to focus and what does it look like overall.
Yeah.
So
And we have this at the user level and tenant level, right? Like, I think what we've been hearing from customers is that I want to get the granular details of, say Nandita's device, and see what was the latency, what was the sign-in time today, and maybe past few days. Both the resource perf and remoting connection reports are in public preview. So I would encourage, whoever's on the call and would be listening to the recorded session to use both resource perf and remoting connection and provide inputs, feedback, so that we can incorporate, as we, do our future investments in this area.
So before we round up, any final thoughts or things we want to transfer to the audience, whether they are live or in recording, before we close off?
Yeah, I would say that, keep sharing your feedback, keep using or trying out the reports and the functionalities we are building. Some of the monitoring capabilities are going to stay in endpoint analytics, but we are also investing in outside of endpoint analytics. So in the MIM portal itself, there's some unique reports, the real-time reports, or the Resize, which is outside of endpoint analytics. So I would say that, stay connected with us, and we take your feedback very seriously, and we incorporate that into our plans. And if there are any opportunities for us to talk to you, let us know. We'll be more than happy to come up as a team and take your inputs and, get your feedback. And thank you so much, Christian, for giving us the opportunity to be here today.
Yeah, no worries. And let's close with something fun. Let's make a virtual selfie with the group here and the audience joining. So let's wave. And I'm really looking forward to see your next track landing, Abe, in market. So looking forward to bounce away in the next episode on your track and having another AMA too. So yeah, with that, thank you all for joining, the audience, for all the great questions you guys put in, and as well the team here to be here and as well answer the questions live. You couldn't get a better position to answer or to ask the questions and get the answers straight away. So thank you. Hope to see you at the next AMA next month. And next week we have as well a Lego as a customer story as part of Windows in the Cloud. So be there as well. It's a great story from a customer onboarding into Windows 365 using the technology we presented during this AMA as well. So thank you for joining and hope to see you next time.
thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.